Well, we have a movie called Nightbitch. Interesting title. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Nightbitch, the newest film from director Marielle Heller. Alright guys, so here we have a movie that stars Amy Adams, and she plays a mother who is kind of lost, to be fairly honest. Her husband is constantly away. He's played by McNairy, and she finds herself just trying to take care of her kid, trying to keep her life in order. She deals with OCD problems. And one day she kind of, not necessarily snaps, but she starts to come to the conclusion that she needs to find a better way for herself. And in the process, because this is a very fantastical movie in a lot of respects, she imagines that she's turning into a dog. So therefore we see moments of like real fantasy where she becomes a dog and she starts eating animals. She sees dogs following her. And it becomes this movie about a woman who is just trying to find self-worth, as well as trying to find something in a world that really keeps them down in a lot of respects when it comes to mothers and women in general. And it also deals with how primal urges and primal feelings take effect when you have something being born that is coming out of you that is a part of you in a lot of respects. So that's the kind of movie we're representing. Okay, so with that said, the trailers are very interesting for this movie because it really made it look to be a very high concept fantasy about a woman turning into a dog. It didn't give a lot to what the movie was trying to say, but it's also a movie that hasn't garnered a lot of great press. I think it garnered more praise for Amy Adams' performance than it has for the movie itself. So when it comes to what it's trying to do, it's definitely leaning into some really interesting things about womanhood and how women can feel lost when the men are out at play and stuff like that. And that is a really interesting idea and concept, and using it as like she finds self-worth and her being, I guess you could say. This is also a movie that has like Zoe Chao and Molly Holland, and it's a movie where a woman feels lost, basically. So with that said, I still wanted to see this movie. I love Marielle Heller. I think as a director, I think Diary of a Teenage Girl was a film that I found very early that I thought was really fascinating. I also thought Can You Ever Forgive Me, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. She's very much a director that leans into people that feel broken, that find some solace in something that could be whether writing or a diary or Fred Rogers. She's just that talented of a director. But once again, this movie hasn't garnered a lot of praise. And so after watching this movie, after kind of seeing what it represents, I think it's a very interesting movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think Amy Adams is definitely Oscar worthy when it comes to the nomination because she's so good in this movie. She's a person that is going through a lot in this movie, dealing with her husband that's constantly away, dealing with her kid who's growing up really fast, having the fact that she used to be an artist and now she's a mother who feels lost. She finds power in these ladies and finds power in herself. And the transformation that we see of her character is really fascinating, to be fairly honest. I think it's a very positive thing that Marielle Heller does with this book that is being adapted from a Rachel Yoder book. But it's a really strong-willed, really heavy performance that Amy Adams has to do, and it's one of her best performances outside of maybe like Arrival, to be fairly honest. And I think she's doing some interesting stuff. She has to do sometimes where she acts like a dog, which is really interesting, and she finds really interesting things to do with this character that I think only Amy Adams can do sometimes. She can be sweet, she can be tough, she can be very of a type, to be fairly honest, and I think she does a magnificent performance. But I think the other characters in this movie really fall by the wayside. I think Scoot McNairy is a very by the book character. I think her friend, who kind of become her friends, they're kind of left in the background. They're there. They have some representation that kind of leads to Amy Adams. I think just the nature of some of the characters in this movie are just kind of put by the wayside. That's just kind of where it represents. And I think the movie gets really kind of metatextual, and it gets really weird in a lot of places, to the point where I think it kind of loses balance on what it's trying to do. And what I mean by that is I think the movie was set up to be something that it ends up not being, and I think it tries really hard to have this woman be this particular character and adding this fantastical metatextual thing, but I think in the end, I think it just really kind of is overweighted by the sentimentality and overweighted by, you know, this woman who feels just convoluted in a lot of respects. And I really feel that if Amy Adams was not in this movie, I don't think this movie would have worked. I think it would have been a really bad movie. And it's just because of her performance that elevates this movie, because it really is by the book. It really does some things that you've seen before when it comes to a woman that feels on the outskirts of her life and the outskirts of all these women and all these performances. And though it has some interesting messages once again about womanhood and women ideas of who women are, and the idea of like nature and, you know, cultural relevance and all that stuff, I think it could be better, to be fairly honest. And I think it's a rough film that is, you know, 97 minutes and feels longer than it should. And I don't know, I feel like there's more. I just feel like there's something there that could be really emotional. I think adding in Scoot McNairy and adding in all these people, like they try to add stuff, but Scoot McNairy just comes off as a complete moron, to be fairly honest. And he comes off as like somebody who just doesn't get it, and it's portraying this guy as just a complete a-hole, and you're supposed to kind of feel sorry at the end for him and stuff like that. But it's not a bad film. It really isn't. It's not going to be a top 10 film. It's not going to be on my most disappointing films of the year. It's just a film that just is more the sum than it is the whole, to be fairly honest. I think there's parts in here, including Amy Adams, that really elevate this film than like the actual film itself. And once again, there is going to be missteps for directors. It just happens. This is just unfortunately one of those films. And it doesn't go into like Saltburn territory where it feels like a director had success and now they're just kind of off the wall doing whatever they think sticks, and, you know, being very weird and off kilter. And I don't think this movie goes to that level, because it is a different movie when it comes to what the trailer represents. But that's also the problem. Like, this trailer represents one thing, and I think it doesn't deliver on that thing that it wants to. And it tries to be schmaltzy, and it tries to be, you know, uplifting, but it kind of fails at that too. So that's just kind of where I lean on Nightbitch, to be fairly honest. It's a film that has potential, but just kind of is more Amy Adams' performance than it is the film itself. So anyways, with that said, that's going to do it. That's going to be my take of Nightbitch, the new film from Marielle Heller, starring Amy Adams. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Did you see this movie already? If you have, let me know what you think. Other than that, you know, tell me what you think of these types of movies. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.